worked in dry cleaning establishments and laundromat type things where they did men's shirts and all that, and had this machine they put them on and ironed them out and all that. And of course, women worked in the food industry. They also worked as domestic help, and they also worked as farm laborers, maids, cooks, babysitters. That women who, when you went to apply for a job, if you were overweight, heavy, or if your hair didn't look good, or your clothes didn't look good, they just didn't hire you. I mean, they really just didn't. And you could get fired for any reason. They could just come and say, "We no longer need you. Get your stuff together, and we'll cut you a check." That's the way it worked. If you were military, particularly the Air Force, every 2 years you were going to have to move. So they wanted to know if you were military, and if you were, they just weren't going to hire you. Dress up. You couldn't wear slacks, and this was before the day of pantsuits. I don't think pantsuits for women at work came in until probably sometime, I'm going to guess now and say about 1972 maybe. Reluctant to hire you because when are you planning to have your family? That was always a question they asked in an interview. When young women have children, and of course you had to have proper daycare. Now back in the 50s and even in the 60s, daycare was not very good. It really wasn't. 'Late 1950s and the 60s, there were very few jobs that were open for women, but the ones that were mainly teachers and nurses and office workers like bank tellers and waitresses. That was almost always women. In the 1970s, women were allowed to wear pantsuits and slacks. Now you didn't wear, they had to be actual pantsuits, and they would, the employers specified that.
I enjoy the challenge.
My biggest reward would be the satisfaction I seem to get from the mechanics, knowing that they can rely on me, that I'm interested, I'm willing to work, I enjoy the work, and that, you know, I'm a good apprentice and that I'll make a good journey person.
I'm strictly business out here. It's not easy work, it's very hard, but just to get through the day, know that I accomplished something.
He offers a free 6-week pre-apprenticeship program for women. We expose them to various construction unions, facilities maintenance positions, transportation, and public utilities, and we're also tapping into the green construction.
In January, we started a new program called Renew, which focuses on the green collar industry and preparing women to be a part of that.
Women make up 45% of entry-level positions across the workforce, which decreases to 32% at management roles. At the top, women only make up 17% of the C-suite. At the current rate of progress, it will be 100 years before we see real equality in the C-suite. Contrary to popular belief, women are leaving organizations at the same rate as men.
I think it's great the women are in. I think it brings a lot of fresh ideas to the trade. The thoughts of the men, like, they accept women a lot more now than they did in the past.
FK is one of the jobs I oversee. It's a 3-mile long runway that we are completely replacing. We have approximately 20 women on the job site. It's very important for us. It's a requirement for almost every project that we have to meet certain goals. We encourage that a lot from all trades.
I couldn't be the employee that I wanted to be as a very type A, very wanting to be the absolute best employee out there. I couldn't make that balance work.
41% of working women report doing more childcare than men. 30% report doing more chores. But this does not need to be our reality. While these facts are a wake-up call, we can affect real change.
In America, they now ask for promotions as often as men, but it's the price women pay for motherhood that holds them back. In Britain, 70% of mothers reduce their working hours or switch to a less demanding job, compared with 11% of fathers. In Australia, it's 56% of mothers and 19% of fathers, while in France, 55% of mothers scale back, compared with 13% of fathers.
Very important to have women in the trades, just because, you know, it has to be diverse. It can't just be a man's field, you know, it has to be diverse. Women have to make money just as well as men.
It's not happening fast enough, but there's certainly women making inroads.
Opening seats on the board of public company to women, that's usually what people talk about, but also changes that are less meaningful maybe for the news, but very important for the daily lives of women. Allowing flexibility in work schedule, allowing women to work 1 or 2 days a week out of home if they need to or if they choose to.
What we set out to do was create a full body of data over time that allows companies to see not only what's changing, but what's enduring about the challenges and the opportunities in front of them. And that's really important because for most companies, if you're going to have success on a topic as complex and important as diversity, you're going to have to commit to a multi-year journey.
I'm actually one of the project managers for Tishman Construction, and I oversee the MWBE participation. Currently, I am working on One World Trade Center. We've worked with NEW for a number of years, and many of the women that have come onto our projects, not only for One World Trade, but various projects have come out of the NEW program, and we see the difference.
5 key actions companies can take. Track key metrics to understand the problem. You cannot change what you cannot see. Demonstrate that gender equality is a top priority. Employees must believe that their leaders want change. Identify and interrupt gender bias. We all have unconscious biases to overcome. Rethink work. Redefine what successful careers look like. Create a level playing field. Make sure opportunities and advancement are equitable.
For many years, I was the only woman in the room. I was, the only woman with children. But I also think it's made me much more empathetic towards people who are different and wanting to bring in different voices to figure out how to solve issues and problems.
Women also tend to choose different occupations. In America, over 80% of teachers, nurses, secretaries, and health workers are female, and these jobs tend to be lower paid.
They noticed that we did, white British, white Irish and black Caribbean women were the most likely to be in employment or looking for employment. That level was at about 80% of all 25 to 49-year-olds. But at the other end of the scale, Arab women, white Gypsy and Irish travellers, Pakistani and Bangladeshi women, their level of being in work or looking for work was at around 40% for that same age group. So there are very large differences in the people that were in the labour market.
So I turned up at a certain hospital, and because my name is very British, a lady from another creed, another culture came out into the waiting room, which was full of internal candidates, and called my name. And when I responded, she looked at me, she looked at the paperwork, she looked at me again, and I kind of knew before I even got up out of the chair that I hadn't got the job.
Simple justice requires that we should be paid the same wages. If we do the same quantity and quality of work, why aren't our wages paid the same? In the audience, please realize the customs of our society. Fight for what is right and what you deserve.
To have a job with the union benefits and just the union brotherhood, you know that somebody's looking out for you.
I decided to take this career path because of the better pay and the better opportunities. Now I'm in the union, now I got somebody backing me.
When I went to NEW, that's when I learned about the real benefits, the real pay that people were making out there, doing construction work. NEW opened doors for me.
Miss Yoshida used to work at a leading Japanese bank research unit where she met her husband. But when they started a family, she felt compelled to leave because of the long hours.
If a young woman or young working woman decides to have a kid or raise a family, she might extract herself from the world of work and therefore slow down her path to opportunities. And even if she manages to have both at the same time, she might not get the flexibility that she needs in order to do both successfully.
Women are less likely to participate in the labor market. They face lower chances of finding a job. They're paid less than men, more likely to be in involuntary part-time work, and they're subject to discrimination in the workplace. Traditional gender roles are slow to change. In every country, women do at least twice as much housework and care work at home than men.
Most women or individuals with a lot of feminine attribute are more sensitive, more intuitive, more empathic to others, and have a great collaborative spirit, which allows them in turn to be able to address situations faster and to change the way they act accordingly if needed.
Wage inequality affects more women. On average, how much more do you think working men earn than women? Our survey suggests no one really knows. In reality, in the UK today, the pay gap amongst full-time working men and women is at 9.4%, and this number rockets to 19% when combined with part-time roles.
The hurdles to advancement give us the opportunity to look at the things that we can control, that we can make different choices around, that we can be more purposeful and intentional around, so that we can get more of what we want and engage in our lives in a way that's meaningful and satisfactory to us.
When more women are hired, countries grow faster.
There is ample evidence by now that shows when women participate in greater numbers in the economy, there can be significant macroeconomic gains.
Lack of legal protection makes them more vulnerable to abuse. This young woman suffered a fractured skull, while this woman was forced into domestic servitude since childhood. Her scars bear testimony to years of physical abuse.
They kick me. They whip me with an electrical cord nearly every day.
คนรับใช้นะ คนรับใช้กับเขาคำคิดว่าคนรับใช้กับคนทำงานบ้านมันคนทำงานมันไม่เหมือนกันนะ ถ้าเขาคิดว่าคนรับใช้นี่คือเขารับใช้ที่มันจะจิกนะใช่ไหมคะมันจะจิกคือเขาบอกว่าถ้าว่ารับใช้นี่คือว่าคุณจะเรียกใช้ฉันเวลาเท่าไหร่ก็ได้กี่โมงก็ได้อะไรก็ได้คือความคิดแบบเก่าๆก็ยังมีอยู่คือสังคมคนในกรุงเทพเนี่ย
On average, domestic workers across Asia are on the job between 50 and 60 hours each week. Because most countries in Asia exempt domestic work from the labor protection regulations applied to most other jobs, people in domestic work have few places to turn if they feel pressured into working excessive hours.
The stereotype is men's work is more physical, so they should be paid more.
Nearly all the countries of Asia have adopted a minimum wage. Likewise, almost all countries have regulated the number of hours an employee is expected to work each week. But these national labor standards rarely apply to domestic workers. Most of them work extended hours in unregulated working environments, and most often for low pay.
The government has announced a plan to have 30% of leadership positions filled by women by 2030. With women currently occupying just 12% of management roles, that looks an ambitious target.
In some countries, women earn just 60% of what men earn for an hour of the same work.
你即係有咩意外發生，佢就可以傾保險，但係你做咁耐咧，會勞損得好犀利噶嘛，但係勞損嗰度就保障唔到。
More than 1 of every 3 women worldwide has experienced physical or sexual violence. Violence against women does not only have physical, emotional, and psychological costs, it has a significant impact on national economies. Violence, harassment, and discrimination can prevent women from entering and staying in the job market, particularly in male-dominated fields.
Unlike some employers, this homeowner pays overtime premiums if Sayuti is asked to work longer than usual, and she provides health care benefits.
Kau ditambahin gajinya, tapi paling dikasih uang lah, sama nanti oleh-olehnya dapat kalau dia dari mana rumah atau dari mana.
I guess I haven't really thought about it that way because I am a woman, and so I've lived, the path that I've been given. I think that I've never made choices because I'm a woman. I've been cognizant of certain challenges that are presented because I'm a woman, and that I have to operate differently in certain circumstances.
I have contract, 2 years contract, and then I have more than minimum wage now.
ดิฉันก็มาอยู่ฮ่องกงเนี่ย20 กว่าปีแล้วก็เห็นการเปลี่ยนแปลงของสถานการณ์ที่เกี่ยวกับความเป็นอยู่ของแม่บ้านอย่างเช่นวันหยุดนะคะแต่ก่อนเนี่ยวันหยุดไม่มีแล้วก็นายก็ไม่ได้จ่ายแต่ก็เห็นว่าตอนนี้เนี่ยรัฐบาลก็มีการประกาศว่าวันหยุดเนี่ย7การทำงานใน1 อาทิตย์เนี่ยนะคะ
surat perjanjian kerja, jadi disitulah kelemahan PRT diperkaya diperbudak majikan gitu loh. Dia walaupun sudah 7 jam tetap disuruh terus kan sampai 10 jam umpamanya nggak ada uang lembur. Namanya manusia ya kerja terus ya bosan juga.
The Domestic Workers Convention C189 has set the global standard. It's now up to each country, worker, and employer to ensure that these standards are met. Domestic workers should receive fair wages, set working hours, days off, and the types of social protection other workers have come to expect. Here in Asia and the Pacific, like elsewhere, it's time to end the gender stereotyping and recognize the value and importance of domestic workers. After all, they care for our families and look after our children. While these domestic workers in Hong Kong are now guaranteed a minimum wage by law, they say more needs to be done to make them equal with workers in other sectors.